Today I would like to talk about this Tchibo all-in-one bean-to-cup super automatic coffee machine. And so I'm just going to use the machine and I want to talk about it while I'm using it. So Tchibo is a German manufacturer really known for roasting coffee beans. They're very popular all throughout Germany. And they've come up with this design with this coffee machine right here. From a design standpoint, this is a really nice machine. It's got rounded edges, which I always like to see in design. It's got a use of magnets as well. This drip tray here is held on with magnets, if you can see that here. And that's also nice because then you can put a larger cup underneath. We'll try that later. It's got a movable brew group here so that you can adjust for the size of your cup. It's got a lid here for your bean hopper, and the lid's got a rubber gasket on it so you can actually hear that sealing. And it's got a grinder inside with 6 grinder settings. Something that I wanted to mention that I think is really cool about this machine is the brew group itself. If I just press in this flap here on the side like that, this is also nice because this is hinged with 2 metal pins and it's held on with a magnet as well. So that's a pretty cool design. And then the brew group itself it's nice and small. You know, it's much smaller than the Philips. It seems to me to have fewer parts and yeah, compared to the DeLonghi, also smaller. So that's just kind of a nice unit to be able to remove, to rinse out and toss back in, no problem. For anybody curious, the brew group is 43 millimeters in diameter. Let's put that back inside. There's something else that I wanted to mention about this machine. It says in the directions to not fill this with water with the water tank in the machine. You gotta remove it. It's time to fill up some water. Let's do that. And you can see I'm using filtered water here. I would always recommend that with any coffee equipment because anytime that you've got water, you've got a heater, you're going to end up having to deal with scale. So if you filter your water, then you're going to have less scale to deal with. But the reason I mention it is because if you have this underneath a countertop, it needs to have this much space so that you can remove the water tank. That is something to keep in mind. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and make ourselves an espresso. Oh. You can see my model has got a light on it. That's really cool. I don't know if they all do, but that's definitely a neat thing. And there comes our shot. I'm measuring it out to see how much we're getting. And we get 40 grams or 40 milliliters. So that's slightly less than an ounce and a half. So that's what it looks like right there. It's got a little crema on top. And now crema, by the way, is not only dependent on the machine itself, it's also dependent quite a bit actually on your beans. If you use beans that have more robusta, then it's going to give you more crema. And the most important thing really is to use freshly roasted beans. You always need freshly roasted. Yeah, it's pretty good. I would not say that this is like a real espresso, like what you're going to get at the coffee shop or what you get from an actual portafilter espresso machine, because this is not operating at the same pressure. This coffee is not being ground as finely. I would say this compares more to something like maybe a Nespresso. But I mean, the press of a button and you got yourself a drink. That is very nice. And as you could see there, I accidentally pressed the button as I was moving the machine. Luckily, I hit the espresso, which is what I wanted. But that's a capacitive operator panel on here. So all you do is just a light press of the button and then your drink starts.
Getting value from this video? Please take a moment to like and subscribe.
Let's go ahead and make a normal size coffee. And I would normally put it in a coffee cup, but just so that you guys can see what it looks like, I'm going to use this glass cup here. And for anybody using something like a Yeti tumbler or a thermos tumbler, I got this thermos one here to show you. It does not fit directly you have to put it at an angle like that. So you may have to hold it. So the tumbler is a little bit too tall. Just keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and let's make ourselves a normal size coffee. It's going to be about 6 ounces or 150 milliliters. And what we can do is add extra beans. So if you press on the bean plus symbol, then it's going to grind just a little bit more. And let's press our coffee. Here you can hear the pre-infusion. It compacts it and then it puts some water in there to pre-infuse the puck. It's pretty quiet too, isn't it? It's not too loud to grind. It's not too loud to extract either. It's a pretty nice, quiet design. It doesn't take up much space on your workbench. You can see it's not very wide either. It's a handsome little machine. All right. And there is our coffee. It's got a level of crema on top. Yeah, that is a pretty nice, tasty coffee, nice and hot coffee. That brings me to one point, however. There is no temperature adjustment on this Tchibo coffee machine. I always like to have a temperature setting so that I can adjust that if I want to. Some people want it a little bit less hot, some want it really hot. This for me is quite hot, and that's good because you do want enough temperature to be able to extract properly through the beans. But yeah, that's a nice cup of coffee right there. Like I said, the most important factor really is using freshly roasted beans. So take a look on the packages. You want to get something that's roasted within the last, let's say, 4 to 8 weeks ideally, and you're going to get the best results with that. Let's do a quick wrap up of this machine. What do I like about it? It's nice and compact. It uses magnets, which I think is super cool. I really like how small the brew group is, that you can just remove it that easily. That is super nice. It makes a pretty good coffee, and it's relatively quiet while it's running. I like all of those points. What I am missing is a temperature setting. That would be nice to have, but all in all, pretty nice little machine. There's also a milk variant of this machine called the Esperto Pro, and it's pretty slick. It's just this. That's all it is. This is the milk dial on it, and then it's got this stainless steel rod here that goes into your milk. Let's try that out one time and see how it works. All you gotta do is just push it here onto the brew group, and we're good to go. On the dial, you can choose anywhere between having more like a microfoam up to like thicker cappuccino bubbles. I prefer more of a microfoam, so I'm gonna go more towards the end there. And then all we have to do is take our milk, open it up like that, and stick it in there. Now, one thing that I would always recommend is to use fresh milk. So not ultra heated, super pasteurized milk. It should be fresh, homogenized. It has to be homogenized, and the fatter the better. This is 3.5% fat. That is always the best for getting a delightful texture. So yeah, that's all we gotta do. Then I'm gonna put my cup right there. I'm gonna hit the plus bean for extra beans, and then I'm gonna make myself a latte macchiato. Now, I would say that this milk foam is one of the better ones that I've tried on these Superautomatics. The texture is pretty good. Not quite microfoam, but close. So that is a plus point for this machine. That does a nice job. All right, perfect. So there's our latte macchiato. Looks pretty good. Nice head of foam on there. And yeah, I'm gonna drink that right up. But before I do that, let me show you how to clean the machine. After you use the milk, then you have to clean it. You can see it's void of milk at this point, which is good, but we gotta clean it. So we're gonna put that milk rod in a fresh cup of water, put a dispensing cup underneath the unit and press the clean function. That's gonna suck some water up out of here and run it through the brew group. First, it's gotta heat it up. You can see it starts off pretty milky, and then it's just water flowing through there. So that's a nice way to clean it out after you use it. All right, all done. It's as simple as that. That's pretty darn good. Milk foam, very nice. In conjunction with the espresso, I'm pretty impressed with the texture of the milk foam. That's good. Now, the manufacturer says you shouldn't only just cycle water through here after using it for milk. You don't want any bacteria building up, so you're supposed to remove the unit and take it all apart. As well as this part here, this can be removed. So I'm just going to show you in a short clip here the process that you're supposed to do each day after you use this for milk. So once that initial cleaning is finished, we have to remove the milk frother and clean the innard. So what we're going to do is go ahead and remove the pipe from the side here. And then we got the silicone tube on the pipe. We're going to remove that as well. We're going to remove this entire unit here. It just pulls right out. Then we have to take this cap off, just like that. And now this middle T unit comes out as well. And that is also two parts. Here we've got the nipple coming down, and we've got the T part right there. And this can also come apart too. There's a flap there. So let's just go ahead and clean all of this out underneath water. All right, so let's just go ahead and clean off every single part. The stainless steel tube, this silicone tube, the nipple here. This T unit needs to be rinsed out. And then finally we've got this unit here as well. So what you're supposed to do is just pull the knob right off, do that gently, and then you can clean out inside there as well. All right. After you're finished with all that, let it dry overnight and then install it on your machine the next day. All right, now let's put it back together. Here, let's put this T part back in first, and we have to put this inlet here on the right side because that is where the milk dial goes in. So we'll take this nipple part, stick that on there. We're gonna close up this silicone flap, get that tucked in there, and then put that back inside. Good to go. Let's stick this milk froth density knob back on. There we go. And we are going to stick that right back onto the machine. Perfect. Let's put the cover on. And now all we have to do, we have to put the silicone tube back on and attach the other end of the silicone tube back onto the stainless steel rod. Tuck it nice and neat behind in the holder, and good to go. I'll show you one more thing. If you remove this drip tray with the puck catcher, something that a lot of people would like to see is what the pucks look like, and they actually stay intact fairly well. If you can see that, they're pretty decent pucks. They don't crumble until you actually touch them, so they're relatively dry. That's a good thing. That's the machine right there. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I say happy coffee drinking and happy espresso drinking.